Hey everybody! So I've been making sandwich bread for my family for probably the past year, pretty consistently, and I thought I'd come on here and share with you guys how I do it. So it makes 3 of the loaves this size, so it's not your normal bread loaf size. And my kids like the smaller slices for their sandwiches, and so that's why I use those. Typically I make 2 loaves and then a pan of cinnamon rolls because they love cinnamon rolls. And I use sourdough, but I don't do the typical flour starter. I use a potato flake starter, so it's more liquidy than what you're used to seeing with your flour starters. And this one is active, she's bubbly, and she's ready to be used. There's so much happening in the background. Nathan's drumming, Samuel's turning on the robot vacuum. The only person that's not making noise is Zach, and that's because he's outside playing Army Guys. But anyway, so you start by stirring up your starter. And I just use a clean butter knife to stir her up with. And then it calls for a cup of your starter. Cups of warm water. I usually do lukewarm water, so I'll be right back with that. Okay, so far, let me show you. I just have the liquid in. So I've got the starter and the water. And so for the oil, I use a stick of butter. I use salted butter for everything. Because I typically leave out the salt because it's easier to just add it later. And I just use softened butter. I don't cut it up. There we go. So that's the oil. And then for your sugar or your sweetener, you can use honey, raw honey, which I've used before. Or you can use sugar. I don't have a lot of sugar left in my container, so I'm going to use honey today. And so I usually use about 3 to 4 tablespoons of honey. I don't have the tablespoons out ready to go, so I'm just going to use 1/4 cup. And guys, you see this gigantic jug of honey. We got this at the farmer's market, our local farmer's market. Probably back in the spring, April, March, sometime. And we use it pretty regularly. And this is how much we've used in just like 8 months. So it's gonna last us a really long time. And now I'm real sticky. But anyway, so we use honey for that. Okay, so my recipe came from my mom. I'm pretty sure it was my great-grandmother's recipe, at least for the flour or the starter. My mom made a lot of sourdough when we were kids growing up. I remember her making cinnamon rolls so much while we were growing up. And this was the starter she used, and so I've had this one active for about a year now. But the recipe for the bread just I stumbled on it by accident. Like, I didn't have enough of one type of flour, and so I had to use a combination of flours, and just discovered, hey, this turned out to be really delicious. So I use 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, and then I use 2 cups of a bread flour, and then 2 cups of a wheat flour, and it makes the most delicious bread. It's so soft, it's so yummy and sweet. And so I'm going to measure these out, and then I will show you what it looks like when we're done. So I usually start on kind of a low speed until it gets mostly mixed so it doesn't throw flour everywhere. As you can see, it can kind of start to throw flour. And then we just speed it up and we let it mix for about 10 minutes once it's all mixed together. Okay, so when it's done, it comes together in a nice ball. I don't know if you can even tell what I'm recording. And I just take it off. Where'd my little, I don't know where my little stand went. There we go. I just take it off. And there you go. There's my ball of dough. And then I'm going to cover it and let it sit all night long. And I can show you what it looks like in the morning. Good morning, everybody. I have my kiddos at the breakfast table. But I wanted to show y'all what the bread looked like this morning before I punched it down. It rose all night long. And so I just take the saran wrap off of it. And I wish you could smell it because it smells so good. But that's what it looks like. Zach, say hi.
Hi.
All right, so I just washed my hands. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of flour on the outside of my hand so it doesn't stick as much. And then just punch it down. And then we're going to just scrape it out and make our loaves.